Let's kick things off. You ever been in a situation, maybe a meeting or just a gathering where something felt a little well off?
Yeah. Like, not a huge deal, but just something distracting.
Exactly, like a tapping sound you can't ignore, or I don't know, a weird smell. It's funny, sometimes those really small, almost background things, they can actually point to something, well, pretty significant.
That's actually a great way to frame it, and it ties right into where we're going today in our deep dive.
Mm,
Doctrine and Covenants, sections 89 through 92.
right?
So, picture this.
Yeah.
It's the early church, right? Leaders are gathering. It was called the School of the Prophets.
Okay.
And they're there to learn, to grow spiritually, discuss some pretty deep theology, get ready for ministry, prayer, fasting, the whole deal.
Sounds pretty intense. Serious setting. But here's where it gets interesting.
Yeah.
Alongside all that spiritual focus, there was this other thing going on. It was common then for the men to be, well, smoking pipes and chewing tobacco.
Right.
There.
Right there in the meetings.
Yeah.
And you have to remember the context. This was the 1800s. Tobacco use was, well, much more common, much more socially okay than today.
Totally different time.
Exactly. Part of the culture. But even so, it caused some, let's say, practical problems. Emma Smith, Joseph's wife, she started noticing the impacts on the room.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the tobacco was staining the floors apparently pretty badly. And, well, there was the smell. It lingered.
Huh. You can almost picture it, can't you? Deep spiritual talks happening in this, like, smoky room.
Right. So Emma, quite reasonably, she brings this up with Joseph.
Okay.
And Joseph's reaction to this kind of practical housekeeping issue almost, that's what's key here. He took it to the Lord. He sought guidance.
Wow. So not just, let's clean the floor better.
No. This is where it shifts. What started as a concern about, stains and smells, it became the trigger for a major revelation. The Lord's response wasn't just, hey, stop using tobacco. It was much bigger. A whole set of principles, a guide, really, meant to bless people for, well, forever. And that's Doctrine and Covenants 89, the word of wisdom.
The word of wisdom, right. And it's not just a don't do this list, is it? I remember reading it. It feels quite positive. It's framed as a principle with promise.
Exactly. It's not just about avoidance. It's about what you gain.
Right.
Verse 3, it says, the purpose is to teach what is wholesome, help build up the church. And the promises, the blessings, they're substantial.
Like what specifically?
Well, physical health is a big one. Strength to run and not be weary and shall walk and not faint. That's verse 20. But also mental and spiritual clarity, wisdom and great treasures of knowledge, even hidden treasures. That's verse 19.
Wow. Okay, so a complaint about dirty floors leads to this divine insight on health, wisdom, knowledge. That's quite a leap.
It really is something.
So our mission for this deep dive then is to really get into this principle with promise, starting with section 89, the word of wisdom, and then we'll look at 90, 91, and 92 as well. They kind of came out around the same time.
That's right. They give us more context, add layers to the understanding. We'll be using the scriptures themselves, obviously, plus some historical background to see how it all connects and, importantly, what it means for you today.
Okay, let's do it. So back to the word of wisdom, section 89. What happened right after Joseph shared it?
Well, what's fascinating, according to the history we have, is the reaction was immediate. Those leaders in the School of the Prophets, they apparently just, tossed their pipes and their chewing tobacco right into the fireplace.
Just like that, no debate.
Seems like it. Just boom. An instant act of obedience, really. Shows their commitment, I think.
That really paints a picture. And, looking deeper into section 89, like you said, it's not just about not using tobacco or alcohol or hot drinks.
No, absolutely not. It emphasizes the positive, too. Using wholesome herbs, grains, fruits in their season. Verses 10 through 17 lay that out. It's really a holistic view of health.
Taking care of the body.
Yes. And that connects to a bigger idea, doesn't it? The idea that our bodies are sacred, like temples for our spirits, as some sources put it. This revelation really highlights taking care of the physical so we can better serve, better achieve our potential.
So your body isn't just like a container. It's important.
Very important. Sacred technology for spiritual growth, you could almost say.
Huh. I like that. And there's that line in verse 4 about evils and designs in the hearts of conspiring men linked to these substances. What's that about?
Well, it reads almost like a warning, doesn't it?
Mm.
A divine heads up, perhaps, about potential dangers out there. Forces that might try to exploit people, maybe through addiction or harmful products.
So even back then, there was this awareness of manipulation.
It seems so. And it definitely makes you think, What are the modern versions of those evils and designs? Tobacco use looks different now, sure, but we have all sorts of new challenges with addiction, harmful substances, maybe even harmful information.
Right. Things vying for our attention,
Yeah,
our health.
exactly. The principle holds. Be aware, be discerning. The word of wisdom gives us that framework.
Okay. So let's shift gears a little to section 90. This one seems to be more about church structure,
Right.
leadership,
Yeah, Section 90 focuses on what was called the ministry and presidency. That's Joseph Smith and his counselors. This was the beginning of what we now know as the first presidency.
the top leaders.
Right. And the Lord emphasizes their importance here. They hold the keys of the kingdom, verse 2 says. That's the authority, the responsibility to direct the church.
And there's a warning too, right? About not taking their counsel lightly.
Yes, verse 5, not as a light thing. It underscores this idea of prophetic guidance being crucial for the church.
And our sources kind of nudge us to think about recent messages from today's first presidency. It connects, doesn't it? It's an ongoing thing.
It absolutely is. It prompts that question.
Mhm.
How are we listening? How are we applying that guidance now?
And tucked away in section 90, verse 24, there's another powerful promise. All things shall work together for your good if you walk uprightly.
Yes. That adds another layer to the principle with promise theme. It's not just about physical health from the word of wisdom. It's this broader trust that God can make things work out, even tough things, if we stay faithful, keep our covenants.
That's incredibly reassuring, actually, that sense that even in difficulty, there's a bigger picture, a divine hand at work.
Definitely.
Okay, then we get to section 91. This one feels different again. It's about discerning truth, specifically about the Apocrypha.
Right, the Apocrypha, those books sometimes included between the Old and New Testaments, but not usually considered scripture by Protestants or Latter-day Saints. Joseph asked if he should translate them.
But the principle seems way bigger than just those specific books. It feels like it's about sorting through any information, almost like a spiritual spam filter for today.
That's a great analogy. The Revelation acknowledges that even in sources that have some truth, like the Apocryphal verse 1 says many things that are true, there can also be things that aren't true, interpolations by the hands of men.
Okay.
So the key guidance, verse 4, is rely on the Spirit. The Spirit manifesteth truth. We should read, learn, investigate, but the ultimate test is that spiritual discernment, trusting the Holy Ghost.
So don't just swallow everything whole. Engage your brain, yes, but always check it against that spiritual feeling, that confirmation.
Exactly.
Man, that is so relevant today. We're just swimming in information, aren't we? Opinions, news, social media.
Constantly bombarded. Section 91 gives us that divine filter. Seek truth through the Spirit. Don't just accept things because they're written down or presented confidently.
Crucial skill. Okay, and finally, section 92. It's quite short. It mentions someone named Vienna Jacques.
Yes, Vienna Jacques, a woman who showed incredible faith. She dedicated significant financial resources to the church when they really needed it.
So this section is kind of highlighting individual commitment.
I think so. It shows these principles weren't just abstract ideas. People were living them, making sacrifices. Her contribution helped fund the Kirtland Temple, which was huge.
Wow.
And the promise to her was personal, that she'd settle down in peace if she stayed faithful. It shows how individual action fits into the bigger picture.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, it's amazing how we started with, tobacco smoke in a room.
Yeah.
And it unfolded into this wide-ranging revelation, a principle with promise covering physical health, spiritual well-being, the importance of following leaders, discerning truth, and the blessings of just being faithful and dedicated.
It really is all interconnected. These sections together give this comprehensive view of living a life guided by God's principles.
So the key takeaways seem to be, the word of wisdom is way more than a health code. It's about physical and spiritual vitality.
Right. And prophetic leadership is God's way of guiding the church. Plus, we need the Spirit to navigate truth in the world.
And that overarching promise from section 90 that things can work for our good if we're trying to do right.
Exactly. That's a solid synthesis.
So, thinking about you listening, how could this idea, a principle with promise, show up in other parts of your life? Not just health, but maybe other guidelines where following them brings built-in blessings.
Yeah, what are those for you?
And thinking about section 91, discerning truth, where do you feel that need most right now? What messages are coming at you that require that spiritual filter? And how are you consciously connecting with and trusting prophetic guidance today?
Good questions to ponder.
Yeah.
And maybe one final thought to leave you with, going back to the very beginning, that small thing, the tobacco issue.
Hmm.
What small, maybe overlooked things in your life right now might actually be the key? The thing that if you addressed it or sought guidance on it, could unlock much bigger blessings or deeper understanding for you.
In a little room in Curland town, the prophets taught with truth profound, but smoke still clung to the sacred air, and Emma prayed a humble prayer. So Joseph asked the Lord above, and heaven answered with great love. A principle, a promise, a path that leads to life, for body and for spirit, for strength to choose what's right. With faith we toss the lesser things, and trust in all the health He brings. This gift from God, so wise and true, He gave it all for me and you. Now in our little kitchen bright, we chop and stir by morning light, grains and fruits, a vibrant plate, a quiet joy to consecrate. Our bodies are temples, pure and strong, a place where the Spirit can dwell and belong. We'll follow the prophets and listen and learn, for blessings come to hearts that yearn. A principle, a promise, a path that leads to life, for body and for spirit, for strength to choose what's right. With faith we toss the lesser things, and trust in all the health He brings. This gift from God, so wise and true, He gave it all for me and you. Now in our little kitchen bright, He gave it all for me and you. Now in our little kitchen bright, we chop and stir by morning light, grains and fruits, a vibrant plate, a quiet joy to consecrate.